Hello and welcome back to the S&S Football Podcast. We are back again for another show just to run through yet again today's January, or not even today's, but the past few days, January transfer news. We've let it brew for a few days, but we're back again to go through it. I'm joined once again by Villa Morgan. So, mate, how you doing?
Not bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. We'll dive right into the news and kick things off. And a deal, we'll go through the done deals as we always do at the beginning. A deal that we've been speaking quite heavily about. The first one on the banner, the one that Morgan is most pleased with, is Morgan Sanson to Villa is obviously confirmed, all done. He didn't feature against Burnley. I don't think he was either on the bench either, but you must be, as a Villa fan, very happy to get someone over the line in this window to add some good European experience and quality to your team as well.
Yeah, he didn't feature against Burnley purely because of the timing. I think it's a 3-day period before you can actually play. So, and he signed the day before, so it's pretty inevitable that he weren't going to play. But no, I can't really be more happy with it, to be honest. Dean Smith came out today as well and said that with regards to transfers, that's us done. We don't need anything else. He feels as though we've got a healthy squad now, with players like Trezeguet and Ross Barkley back in the mixer as well. We do have a lot of strength now, but we can almost become paper thin. Not any side, to be honest, but we can become paper thin with a few injuries. But Sanson specifically, I watched his first interview and he spoke really well. He's surprisingly got good English for someone that has never played in the Premier League before. And he said that he was a warrior and that Villa fans should expect an all-action player, a guy that can score goals, a guy that can defend, attack. So I think he's a box-to-box, and I think it's only going to benefit us, especially the fee that he's coming for as well. Not many teams are going to get a player with Champions League experience and at the age he's at as well, in the prime of his career at 14 million. So obviously we'll have to see how he does in terms of matching it against the value. But yeah, it seems like a good signing. And to be honest with you, I'd love to see him feature on Saturday or tomorrow even. What am I talking about? Yeah, I want to see him feature tomorrow. If I'm being honest, because I think we need a little bit of rotation. I think the Burnley game showed that you just can't get away with not making subs until the 80th minute, especially considering how many games we've got in close proximity. So I'd love to see him get a start. I don't know who he'd come in for. Be interesting to see what Dean Smith does tomorrow, to be honest, because it sounds as though he's probably going to feature.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's one to watch for the Premier League. Definitely, I think Villa have got a very good signing there. We'll just rattle through the other done deals and we'll speak about a couple of them. Papu Gomez has gone to Sevilla from Atlanta. That is for about 5 million. Martin Odegaard, as we said, was rumoured to go to Arsenal, and then all Fabrizio confirmed and everything. But it's all confirmed. He's an Arsenal player, but he signed a loan deal to the end of the season. A Frimpong one. This was a very interesting one. Neil Lennon come out, I think a couple of days ago, and said that a team had paid or offered a fee to Celtic for Frimpong, but it was an unknown club. And then it comes out that it's Leverkusen who have already signed Fossey Mensah this window as well. So they're adding a bit of youth to their team as well. He's gone to Leverkusen from Celtic, for about £10 million. Malquis has gone to Fiorentina on loan from Napoli, and then Yannick Bolasie has, I say, finally got his move away from Everton. I think Ancelotti made it clear. I don't think he's going to be playing him, but it's only a loan move again, and it's at Middlesbrough. And I believe he's played from before. I might be wrong on that. I'm not sure. He might have played for Middlesbrough before, but I'm not too sure. But Bolasie is gone to Middlesbrough on loan. So Morgan, we'll speak about two deals that I've mentioned there. firstly, we'll speak about Balassi just quickly. You know, as a player that's played a lot in the Premier League for, you know, Palace and for Everton, also playing in the Championship and obviously lower divisions, especially when he was at Argyle as well. He's had a bit of a torrid time with injuries and then loan moves. So do you think the Championship is where he can go and sort of remake his name and prove to everyone how good he can be?
Yeah, I think people forget he had a spell at Villa
Yeah,
a few seasons back. The season that we got promoted, or no, I tell you what, it was the season before we got promoted actually. And he was okay. We saw that there was a player in there. Obviously, he still had a lot of his flair, but he just hasn't had good luck with injuries. And he struggled an awful lot with fitness. And the move to Everton, when he first went there, everyone thought, what a signing this is. But Everton have had that many transitions, that many managers. I couldn't tell you who he actually was signed by. I'd hazard a guess it was probably Marco Silva, thinking about it
that'd be
back
my
then.
guess.
Yeah. So look, it's one of those. To be honest, I think he's going to go and get some football. Middlesbrough are doing okay this season. Neil Warnock seems to have steadied the ship there and got them pushing for top six this year. So look, he's only going to strengthen that squad. There's no doubt that the guy's got the talent, but we're looking at a similar situation to Jack Wilshere, I think, where you've got two talented players. I think Jack Wilshere's a lot more talented than Balassi, but they just lack match fitness and they just get injured so much. So it's just a fact of keeping him fit, to be honest. And it's an interesting one because Neil Warnock, I wouldn't really associate him with sort of a flair signing like this one. So I'm interested. I might give Middlesbrough a bit of a watch in the next few weeks and see if he features, because I'd love to know what their incentive of signing him is.
Yeah, definitely. Before we go on to the next one, if you are watching, as always, make sure you do like, stream, and subscribe if you haven't already. And listen in the comments any news you want us to talk about, any transfers that have happened we've missed, or any rumours you'd like us to talk about, or just football in general, any football topics like the latest scores and stuff like that, and we will speak about. The other one, Martin Odegaard to Arsenal, we spoke about this on the last podcast, or on the last stream, sorry. He got announced after the Southampton games, obviously couldn't play in that game. So his first game could be against Man United this weekend. Does he come into that team and start, or is he an off-the-bench option to let him bed in and then maybe in a few games' time he starts? Or do you think he's straight in there into that team?
I don't really know, to be honest, because it depends what he's done in training all week. Because at the end of the day, Arteta's going to measure it on performance in training, I imagine. Smith Rowe has obviously been excellent for them. But I think it's weird because Villa had a very similar situation as well, where we went and signed Ross Barkley, and our midfield of Conor Hourihane, Louise, and McGinn were excellent in a 3-0 win against Fulham. Barkley comes in straight away against Liverpool. So for me, it's how much Arteta values the actual ability of Odegaard, because it is throwing him in at the deep end. He's never played in the Premier League before. There's no doubt the guy's got talent, but at the end of the day, the bar has been set by Bruno Fernandes in terms of coming to the league and taking it by storm. So he's got a lot of pressure on his hands, and I think if Arteta was a good coach, I don't think he'd play Odegaard in this game.
Well, even would that be even if they were losing, or
I'd bring him on, definitely. I wouldn't start him. I think Smith Rowe's done too well. And if you was Smith Rowe and you got put out of that team by some guy who's just came in straight away, I feel like as a player, I don't think Smith Rowe would be the one to kick up a fuss. But you could tell, similar to Hourihane was fuming Like he was absolutely livid. He came out and said that he couldn't believe he'd been dropped. And Harahan scored a goal and got an assist against Fulham when he got dropped. So I think Smith Rowe starts, but I think Odegaard slowly but surely will get integrated into the team. And I'd love to see Mikel Arteta, if Odegaard is a quality player, try and fit both in and see how we could maybe work a system that gets both of them in the team. But at the end of the day, I think Odegaard is a good signing for Arsenal. Obviously, with it being a loan, hopefully he doesn't do a Dennis Suarez and do really poorly. And he's a little bit better than Ceballos, because Ceballos has been okay, but he hasn't really been what Arsenal fans have wanted from a Real Madrid central midfielder. So Odegaard's a difficult one for me, because I'd hate to see a young English player like Smith Rowe just get tossed out the way for some Norwegian guy who let's be honest here, has been a has-been at Real Madrid, and he sort of revitalised his career at Sociedad, which is credit to him. But I don't think if he comes in and starts, I could see if Arsenal were to lose the game, I could definitely see the fan base having a go at Mikel Arteta and saying, why didn't Smith Rowe start?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And we said all through this window when we were doing the live streams, we said literally Arsenal are crying out for an attacking midfielder. You know, they, like we've mentioned before, Brandt was on the list. You look at Coutinho, you look at Draxler, players like that, and then all of a sudden, you know, Odegaard was never leaving this window, but then he says he wants a loan move away. And all of a sudden it becomes possible, and Arsenal have got the attacking midfielder thereafter. So you got to give them credit. They've stuck with their guns. Even Buendia was being chucked about, but that never come to fruition. They've got one over the line, so fair play to them. We're going to talk now. So that's a done deal. So there has been other ones. Or Morgan seems to have just dropped out then. There has been other done deals that we will possibly mention, stuff like Llorente, bits and pieces like that. But like I said, at the minute, they're the sort of nailed on done deals. So, yeah, well, just add Morgan back in. You just had a little bit of an issue there, didn't you, bud?
Internet, honestly, man.
No worries, mate. We'll talk about the two players on the thumbnail of the stream. One of them is all but a done deal through many sources. And the other one seems like pretty much a done deal anyways. But the first one, Jesse Lingard, loan move to West Ham. Obviously, as a United fan, he's had a tough time not only on the pitch but off it as well recently. But we can't forget, you know, when he burst onto the scene, you know, the winner in the FA Cup final the season after, where I think it was one of his best seasons. But then as soon as Ollie sort of come in as caretaker, from then onwards, he sort of tailed off a bit and, you know, wasn't really hitting the heights he had been beforehand. And I think, you know, like we said, you bring in a player like Bruno Fernandes and it shows you that the golfing quality between a Lingard and Pereira's playing in the same position. But look, I honestly hope he does go to West Ham and tears it up again, because I think he needs that for his football. He's, like I said, he's had a torrid few years, really. I hope that he goes there and smash it. But in terms of West Ham, they're doing fantastically well. I think they're up to fourth now in the league. It's just a good signing for him, because, you know, you look at Lingard and you say, well, he hasn't played a lot. His form's been in and out. I don't know whether David Moyes knows much about him from his time at United, because I think Lingard come in the season after with Van Gaal. So is this a good move for West Ham? I know it's another creative option, but is it more the experience he's got rather than obviously his form at the minute?
I think I'm going to upset a few people in saying this, but I really don't understand it. I'm going to be honest. West Ham's midfield at the moment, you could say it's like Villa's in essence, where it's a very settled midfield and it almost picks itself. You've got Souček and Rice, who are, for me, two of, at the moment, the informed players in the league in terms of midfielders. And I don't think anyone can dispute that, especially if you look at the results and the way that they anchor that West Ham team. But Ben Rama as well seems to be now playing in this 10 role, a bit of a free role. And they've got Noble already in there, and they've got Fornals who can play in the middle as well. I don't understand it. I'm going to be honest. I really don't understand it. I don't think he's going to get game time. And, I would have rather have seen him gone to a Sheffield United, who I know he was linked with, but a side that are really struggling and need a player of quality to come in. Because at the end of the day, there's no doubt that the guy's got the quality. Yes, the fitness won't be great, but I just don't understand why West Ham, considering the way that they're going this season, have gone and got a player that, for me, he hasn't. If West Ham want to play European football this year, I don't understand why bringing Jesse Lingard in, other than someone who's an average player who can come in and do a job. I can't really see the incentive of signing him, because let's not forget, the guy hasn't played football in ages. And yeah, I'm really confused. I don't know why West Ham specifically have gone in for him and got him. I feel like West Ham have had a policy before they signed Jared Bowen and before they signed Soucek and Moyes has been there. West Ham had a bit of a reputation of being like a retirement home. They used to sign, like Villa, they used to sign players that were at the latter end of their career and who just faded out. I feel like this is one of those signings that is going to go, like, it shows that the regime may be a little bit the same. It may have just tweaked slightly, and that Ben Rama and Bowen were two players that they had to get. And I don't think he's a David Moyes signing. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's a David Moyes signing. I can see this being the board encouraging him to go and get Jesse Lingard and see if it works. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think he gets minutes. I don't think he gets into that West Ham midfield, if I'm being honest. I don't think he gets anywhere near it. So, look, he's out to prove me wrong. And I might be being hard on him because he's put the dreaded Birmingham City shirt on before. But at the end of the day, I would have loved him to go to Sheffield United, where he's actually needed a club. I would love to have seen him gone to a club that are really struggling for creativity, and Jesse Lingard can go in there and potentially pull a few strings. I don't think it's going to be at West Ham, because I think West Ham have made that transition from being spending loads of money and struggling to this season. If you look at it, they haven't spent an awful lot of money compared to other seasons, but they look a real force this year. And I think they're going to push Europe as well. I think they're going to be one of the teams that are pushing Europe. And finally, Moyes has got the best out of the players that are there. I think before there were so many players that were underachieving under Pellegrini. And Moyes has gone in there and gone, look, you're either with me or you're not. And the whole club has gone up. So a weird signing for me. I'm not really on board with it, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you say about Sheffield United. He could have gone there. Whilst you mentioned it, a done deal we forgot to put in is obviously Ben Rama's loan move has been made permanent by West Ham. So that's another bit of business which got done today. I think that move got made permanent to alleviate the loan move for Lingard. I understand where you're coming from with the Sheffield United and a team that really needs that creativity, but I just think for Lingard at the minute, possibly with his form, the way he was playing when he was playing quite poorly, and even possibly his mental health, going to a team like Sheffield United, who are pretty much, I mean, I don't want to say they're down and out.
They're making a surge.
They're making a surge, I'll give them that, but considering the situation they're in, I think it's better for him to go to a team like West Ham, who are at the other end of the table, and near that top four to help his confidence, his playing. Because could you imagine him in a relegation battle? Everyone's relying on him to create stuff. If he's not creating like he was on the back end of when he was playing, then you just know the sort of comments that were made about him. So I think if he had gone to Sheffield United, there would have been a dodgy move for him. And seems like Ollie wants to bring him back after the loan move and hopefully use him. I don't know whether he's just saying that, but speak from what he said. I don't think he would be revitalised as Ollie used if he went to Sheffield United. But West Ham fans, I think I've seen a lot of them comment sort of online. They seem quite happy with the deal, to be honest. Obviously him linking up with the likes of Bowen and Rice, like we mentioned. I think West Ham fans are looking forward to it, but obviously it's not confirmed yet, but it is all but confirmed. Another United player, which is on the way out, we've mentioned him before, is Marcus Rojo. Now, ages ago on one of the streams, it was breaking news that he was leaving Boca Juniors. It was all done. That news was fake, so that was a little bit of a kick in the teeth. But now Romano has said that Rojo has agreed personal terms to join Boca Juniors as a free agent, confirmed. So Rojo on the way out. I did a big bit for him, well, not a big bit, but I did a little bit for him last time when the news broke, saying that he has been a good servant to the club, to be honest, but I think his time is up. I guess, like everything, the only downside is United's not getting any money for him, but a move away, I think, was on the cards. Would you have liked to see Rojo still in the Premier League, or do you think, elsewhere, especially in Argentina, is a better move? Because I think Newcastle, Sheffield United, teams like that have been sort of linked with him as well.
No, simple answer. I think I've always seen Marcus Rojo. I would hate to play against him because he looks like an absolute animal. He looks like he would potentially end your life in a tackle. But I just always remember him being so rash and so reckless and just making such poor decisions all the time. And I think Man United fans found out very quickly that he was not anywhere near the player that they thought they'd bought, because he looked quite promising in the Argentinian team. And I can't remember what competition it was, but he was playing for Argentina. I think it was in the World Cup. And everyone was saying, he's going to Man United. And everyone was going, bloody hell, like, what signing this is. Just hasn't worked out for him. And look, I think when it's the situation that he is in and he hasn't played football in ages and it is just a case of trying to get rid of him, I think the money thing goes aside. I think just getting him the move away and getting him off the books in general is more valuable than the loss that they've made on the transfer.
Yeah, I agree. I think to help move on the deadwood, sometimes you do have to take a hit, I guess, and let a few leave for free. And then the other bit of sort of United news is Facundo Pellistri, the youngster we signed in the summer, is set for a loan move. I think the club reported is Alaves in Spain, so not a bad loan move for him. And I think he's settled in well to Manchester. He's played in the 23s. I think he might have played in the 18s. I'm not sure, but he's definitely played 23s. So he's got some good experience, but I think a loan move is probably the best for him. It's also been confirmed by Ollie that Amad Diallo will make his Man United debut this weekend. However, it will be in Premier League 2, obviously the youngster Premier League, and it will be against Liverpool. So nevertheless, still a big game for him to make his debut in, but that's when United fans will see the first of Diallo in a United shirt. Unfortunately, not in the first team with Arsenal. So United news there. We'll just go through all the rumours that we can get up, and we'll just have a chat about them. One which is interesting as to whether will happen or not is Romano said today that there was no agreement between Inter and Roma, for the swap deal between Edin Dzeko and Alexis Sanchez. If Inter won't change any detail of the deal in the next hours, it will collapse. Now, this is a really, really weird deal because I don't understand how this has come about, but I believe Dzeko has just fallen out with the Roma manager and he wants out as soon as possible. So I think he's been linked with United. Dzeko's been linked with City. I think Chelsea have been linked with him. So many clubs have been linked with Dzeko now, but this one seems to be the most reliable. A swap deal for Sanchez and Dzeko. I mean, it's utter madness, isn't it? Sanchez going in another swap deal.
Honestly, it still pains me, Alexis Sanchez. The guy scored an unbelievable goal against us in the cup final for Arsenal. I still remember it to this day when he beat Shay Given from absolutely miles out and ruined my day at Wembley. But what has happened to him? Like it just seemed, because I've heard bits of him about when he's been at Inter. I've heard that he's been doing okay, and he hasn't been doing that bad. And there's been games where he's done all right, but the guy has just fallen off the cliff like that. It's been so steep, the decline of Alexis Sanchez from the one that we saw at Arsenal. Yeah, weird deal that. They're not even the same sort of position, really. One's sort of a wide player that I guess can play up front, and one's an out and out striker. So, yeah, I don't know. Bit of a weird one, that one. I can't expect it to happen.
No, definitely weird. Conte did come out and say, I won't talk about Edin Dzeko to Inter because he's Roma's player. If there's some player unhappy there, we'll be ready to open negotiations. I'm not asking to sign Dzeko. It's up to the club. Sanchez is our player. I want him to be focused on the next match. So that could be very, very interesting to see what happens with that one. Just more sort of Eric Garcia news. Apparently, no Arsenal, no PSG, and no other clubs involved. Eric Garcia has a verbal agreement since December to join Barcelona as a free agent. And he'll be a Barca player. There's no doubt about that. So apparently, a few other clubs have been sniffing, but he's not going anywhere apart from Barcelona in the summer. West Brom have signed or reached an agreement to sign OK Yokoslu from Celta Vigo on loan. Personal terms agreed, medicals and work permit pending. So that's one to look out for. If you're a Baggies fan, I'm sorry, Morgan, I have to bring that to your attention, but you have to forgive me.
I want to sort of talk about West Brom a little bit. Following on from your point, I'm finding their recruitment ridiculously weird, and I think they've lost the plot, if I'm being honest, because they were heavily criticised, the West Bromwich Albion board, when they got rid of Slaven Bilic. Yes, they were in a poor position in the league. Yes, things weren't going great. But it was actually starting to get better. They've got rid of him. And under Big Sam, it's been an absolute shambles. Other than a win against Wolves, they've been horrendous. Like, I don't think people... I think I watched Thogden's video earlier, and he said West Brom's last 4 home results: 5-0, 5-0, 4-0, 3-0. Now, if I was Big Sam in this situation, I would be getting Premier League proven players. I would not be going abroad and signing Diagne from the Super League, which is another one that I believe is quite close. Signing players from the Spanish League. What are they doing? Like, if Sheffield United win their next game, they're ahead of West Brom. West Brom have a minus 33 goal difference this season. Minus 33. Like, I'm baffled. Like, as much as I love to see West Brom go through pain because they're a rival, I feel sorry for their fans, because what's going on at that club is an absolute shambles. Sam Allardyce is not a long-term appointment. He'll be gone at the end of the season, regardless of whether they stay up or not, which I think they're as good as down. So he's just going to go. And then they're going to have these flurry of players like Diagne, like this new guy that comes in. They're going to have a flurry of players, and it's just going to be a case for me of offloading them in the summer because it hasn't worked out. I just don't. Their transfer policy is shocking, absolutely shocking. I thought they were doing really well when they brought in Snodgrass. I thought, right, Premier League proven player, fantastic. Who can they now bring in? Jesse Lingard could have been a good one. Premier League experience, straight in there. They could have looked within the Premier League market, because there are a lot of players at big clubs like Spurs, like Man United, like Chelsea, that are not getting game time at the moment. And they're signing players abroad. I don't get it, because let's be honest here, other than Bruno Fernandes, most players take time to adapt to the Premier League. This Diagne has got to come in and score 15 goals to keep them in the Premier League. Sam Allardyce come out today and said, I don't want to put pressure on him. By signing him in January in the position that you are and saying that you're not going to put pressure on him, West Brom fans must be sitting there and thinking, why are we signing him then? Because if he's not come in to score 15 to 20 goals to keep us in the Premier League, then why has he actually come? Has he just come to make up the numbers? Has he just come to be another name on the team sheet? Another striker that can score the odd goal? They are on it like, it confuses me so much because signing players abroad is not what West Brom need to do right now. In my opinion, they should be preparing for the Championship, which is why I thought they should have kept Bilic.
Yeah, I think another name that was chucked around was Benteke, and I think that would have been, a half decent signing for him. I don't know what Palace. Obviously, Palace have just signed Mateta as well, so that frees up possibly another striker position to go out. They've already got Ayew, so I know Sahar could play down the middle as well. So possibly you would have thought maybe Benteke could have gone, but I think if he had gone to West Brom, Big Sam's worked with him in the past as well at Palace, so I don't think that would have been a bad move for West Brom nor Benteke. But no, I get what you say. I think Premier League proven players is a virtue for all clubs which are near the bottom. And I think, this time of year, obviously, if we take away the COVID scenario, this is where you look at the teams near the bottom. What business do they do? And that reflects on what their ambitions are. Like you look at Huddersfield when they went down in the January, they only really signed Jason Punchin on loan. I mean, that said it all, really. They were going down. I mean, I know they were all but they still, there was no fight there to get anyone in. And, you look at teams now, like you said, West Brom, they've got in Snodgrass. They've got two players, I think, almost in now, the striker and this defensive midfielder. Is that enough to really look at them and go, oh, yes, they're planning to stay in this league by getting some good players in? Because I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, sort of players that the teams have got in and really kept them up. But I'll be honest, I can't think of any right now. But, you know when you look at players and look at what clubs bring in, that you can tell what their ambitions are, if you know what I mean?
Well, the season that Villa went down, the famous wretched season that we got relegated from the Premier League, we almost admitted that we were going to be in the Championship because we didn't sign anyone in January. We made that very clear.
Who did you sign last year in January? Obviously, last year, you're in that relegation battle. I think Drinkwater was one, but we kind of let that slide.
We bought in Drinkwater and Samatta. And obviously, Samatta, we went out, at that time, we went out and spent 10 million on Samatta. But we did the same thing and we got very lucky. And Samatta was horrific for us. Actually horrific. Probably one of the worst strikers I've seen put a Villa shirt on in my lifetime. But we went out. We went to the Belgian league, I think. Got him from Genk. And that Dean Smith admitted that it wasn't his signing at the end of the season. He said there was a short list of players that he wanted. And in the summer, he got told alternatives. And Ali Samatta was one of them. And we nearly paid the price because Ali Samatta didn't score a Premier League goal. If this Diagne comes in and doesn't score a goal, West Brom may as well be preparing for the champion. I think they should be, like I said, I think they should be doing it anyway. And I think that's why their fan base is still so outraged at why they've got rid of Bilic. Because if they'd have gone down under Bilic, I have no doubt in my mind he would have got them straight back up. He did it the first time. He got them straight back in the Premier League. What as a club, I would love to have a West Brom fan on here or in the stream watching to give their view on this. But I find it madness. I find it absolute madness because they're going to go down this season. Next year, who's going to take that job? Who's going to take that job? We've seen what's happened to Cardiff.
Frank Lampard.
We've seen what's happened to Cardiff since they've gone down. We've seen what's happened to Nottingham Forest. We saw what happened to Leeds. We saw what happened to Villa. West Brom have been very lucky because they've been like Burnley used to, a yo-yo club. They've always seemed to find their way back into the Championship. But but the Premier League, sorry. But I tell you what, if they go down this year with the aging squad that they've got, with the lack of quality they've got in that squad, which will be ripped apart next season, and most of the players that they're signing now probably won't be there. I don't think they're going to come back up. And I think the worst decision they made was getting rid of Slaven Bilic. Because do you know what? Even though the football wasn't great and they were struggling,
You've got to draw the Etihad, man.
What was Slaven actually meant to do? Their best signing was Lingard for £20 million, right? Their budget was never going to keep them in the Premier League this year. I would be surprised, other than Leeds, because of the way that Bielsa plays football. I think that the sides that have come up, West Brom, Fulham, is it Fulham? Yeah, Fulham have come up this year. I think that West Brom are the only team that have not invested well. You look at Fulham, in my opinion, I think Fulham are going to stay in this league. I really do. I think Brighton are going to get relegated, if I'm being honest, or Newcastle even. Because Newcastle, I mean, I don't even want to get onto them.
Oh, mate, that's terrible.
But Fulham, look at the players that Fulham have got. They've got Lookman. They've got Lookman in on loan. Ruben Loftus-Cheek on loan. They've got proper footballers in that team. And Scott Parker's got them playing a decent brand of football. West Brom, the brand of football's non-existent. It's like when we played West Brom, beat them 3-0, I've never been more comfortable in a 90-minute game in my life in a derby game. I've never been more confident that we are going to roll them over. I remember saying to you, 3-0, easy as day. No Big Sam effect, 3-0, easy. That was his first game. And they had one shot and it was a free kick. And Emi Martinez, easiest catch. There's no vision. There is no vision at that club whatsoever.
There is no passion.
And I feel so sorry for that fan base. And that's coming from me. I feel so sorry for him because you look at Leeds and how they've approached it. You look at Fulham and how they've approached it. And yeah, Fulham have got their problems, but they're on the way up. They look like a side that have got a vision and that they're going to trust Scott Parker. The Bilic sacking for me has just killed it because I think Bilic would have got some good players in January. I think he would have got a few West Ham players in from his time there. I think he would have swung some roundabouts and got some players in. Big Sam doesn't have that effect anymore. Who wants to go to a side that are getting looked 5-0 at home? And if I'm being honest, Man City could have beaten 10-0.
Yeah, it was bad.
Just
it was
ridiculous.
Bad,
ridiculous.
We'll move on from West Brom. Got a comment in here. Why doesn't Ole start Van der Beek in more matches? Don't get me started on that one. I could be here all day, to be honest. I think
Scott McTominay is apparently the best midfielder in the league.
Yeah, I think all I'll say on that one is I don't know why he doesn't, but he should, and he should be starting him in a midfield diamond of Fred, Van der Beek, Pogba and Bruno, but we'll leave it as that.
You know what? Sorry, Braden, just going off that point, right? If we've spoke off camera about Man United this season. Does it now come a point where Ollie's team selection has to be spot on every week? Because Van der Beek not playing, and you look at the player of his quality sat on your bench, does it come a point where, because I think personally, Ollie this season has got away with a few potentially catastrophic results. Like you look at the Sheffield United game, the other one, when they went 1-0 up in 5 minutes, the West Ham game, where West Ham should have been 4-0 up at half time and Man United somehow come back to win it. Do you not think it comes a point now where, because I've seen a lot of United fans as well say, why the hell's Cavani not playing ahead of Martial, who's been woeful? And I understand you've got to rotate as a squad. But if you look at City, at the moment, the reason why they're doing so well is because of their 11. They've got an 11 that performs for them week in, week out consistently, and it almost picks itself. Do you not think that at the moment Ollie is just trying to keep everyone happy? Players like McTominay, players like Fred, Van der Beek. I feel like he's got so many midfielders. He's just trying to keep them all happy and rotating it all the time. It's not going to work. I'll tell you that for a fact. It's not going to work for the rest of this season. He's got to settle with a midfield four if it's a diamond, and he's got to have the personnel there every game, because I think it is affecting United, and you saw that in the Sheffield United game. I think it is affecting you slightly.
Yeah, look, I think in terms of Van der Beek quickly before the sort of the personnel, I think it got told to him sort of the plan for him being at United, and I think one of the main reasons he come to United was because of the conversations he had with Ollie. So I think one of the worrying things was this always an Ollie signing? But clearly, if Ollie's had that pull on him, then yes, it is. But it's always been under the impression that second half of the season he would play more, because obviously, you're in bigger games. The games come even faster than in the first half of the season. But I do think, look, in terms of McTominay, I don't think recently he hasn't started as many games as I think we thought he would have. Like against Sheffield United, he didn't start. He didn't even come on. I know he started against Liverpool, but Ollie loves going for Fred in a big game. But I think in terms of the lineup, I think he's kept with Martial because, from what he did last season and this season, he's been, like I've said to you, he's been okay this season in terms of goal contributions. He hasn't scored that many, but he has still been getting assists and, getting the odd goal here and there. And he's also been able to play on the wing when Cavani started. But when you look at the game against Sheffield United, he was terrible, like I said to you. And it wasn't just the fact he didn't score or get an assist, but it was the movement as well, the tracking, everything. But then I could say the same for Rashford. So, look, I think Cavani has to start over Martial. And I think Martial needs to be benched, to be honest, because I think he's had his chances, he's had his time to get back into form. But, yeah, I think Ollie has to get a team now. And I think you're starting to see that in terms of, when I look at the team, De Gea's a starter, Luke Shaw's a starter, Telles would only start here and there to give Shaw a rest or maybe in a cup game. Your defence is either going to be Bailly, Maguire or Lindelof. Two of the three would start, so there's not too much rotation there. I mean, Lindelof's played well and Bailly's played well when they've played alongside Maguire. So I don't think that's too much of an issue. Wan-Bissaka's been very good, in my opinion, the past couple of games. But then it's that midfield and that front two or three. You don't know what midfield's going to turn up. And is that because we've got too many options? Probably. You're looking at Matic, Fred, McTominay, Bruno, Pogba, Van der Beek, even Mata, all about trying to get into a midfield. And even Lingard when he was on the bench as well. So and Dan James is still there. So I've always said Donny has played well behind Bruno. Donny, I don't think at the minute has as good an influence as Bruno at Cam, and Bruno's always going to start anyways. So you've always got to start the pair of them. But then again, you go to the front two, and it would be Rashford and Cavani. And then you could argue, well, if you look at Rashford last season and then a little bit this season, his best performances have been off the left-hand side. So why would you play him then at striker to hinder his sort of performances? But I think you've got to go as what's best for the team. And, look, I want to see Van der Beek start more, because there's been so many games where it's been crying out for just a little bit more creativity, go for it a bit more quality on the ball in terms of passing and keeping it, which McTominay doesn't have. And he's gone for McTominay and Fred. So I think he has to find a system now where he has a strong 11 that everyone knows this will be a starting 11, like we had post-lockdown, where I think we had a record amount of games where we had the same starting 11. You knew the team. It was De Gea, it was Shaw, it was Maguire, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka. The midfield was Matic, Pogba, Bruno, and then you had Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, and that was the team. Only when there was injuries to Shaw and then Williams did things change. But yeah, that's what I think.
I think when I watched Van de Beek against Liverpool in the cup, to me,
I was disappointed. And for you, I'm one of his biggest fans. I was disappointed because he looked lethargic and he did good things. Don't get me wrong, but he did look lethargic and wasn't quite the Van de Beek at the beginning of the season or the one against Southampton. And that's because I think he had too much pressure on that number 10 role and should have played behind Bruno. But I knew Bruno needed a rest.
For me, it looked like a player that was frustrated, demotivated, annoyed, angry, and he looked disinterested. I'm going to be honest, from a neutral's point of view, I was watching him in the second half just slug around as if he didn't want to be there. That for me, if I was a United fan, I would be slightly concerned because yes, there's this whole thing about Ollie wants to play him second half of the season. He's going to get more game time. He's going to get this. He's going to get that. Van de Beek is a player that should be starting week in, week out. He started for an Ajax team that got to the Champions League semi-final, for God's sake. The guy's got absolute bags of quality. And how long is he going to be willing to be part of this project? I honestly don't know because it depends on his loyalty to what Ollie's telling him. Does he actually trust him? Because I don't see, if I'm being honest, I don't see Ollie coming out of his comfort zone and not picking favourites anymore. I think he has got his favourites. And it's ironic that United have lost one game and suddenly it's like propaganda. Everyone suddenly goes, oh my God, Man United are awful. Ollie's bad, this, that, the other. No, let's get straight. United had a blip. Let's be honest, right? They had a blip. But Van de Beek cannot do, in my opinion, much worse than some of those midfielders that are getting into that team. And I understand that a system's a system, but Man United should be going and attacking teams, especially Sheffield United. Sheffield United have such a lack of quality. It's a joke. Play Van de Beek.
What I'll say on Van de Beek, just to finish up on, and I've said this multiple times before, is I look at that United midfield, the midfielders, and I can split them into three categories. I can split them into defensive midfielder, box-to-box, and attacking midfielders. I can put Matic as the only defensive midfielder we've got. Fred could possibly play there, but Fred and McTominay are box-to-box midfielders, and I think Donny's a box-to-box midfielder. I don't think he's if he was a good attacking midfielder sort of for Ajax, but then he also did the defensive stuff as well. So he was playing box-to-box for them as well. And then you've got Pogba, who's arguably an attacking midfielder, but could also be in that box-to-box category. And Bruno's your attacking midfielder with possibly Juan Mata. Bruno starts at attacking midfield. You've got Pogba in one box-to-box position. You've then got Matic as the CDM, but in my opinion, I'd play Fred there because Fred has played there before. And then you've got a choice of McTominay or Van de Beek as your other box-to-box midfielder. And for me, it's an absolute no-brainer who plays there because you need 100%. Someone who's got energy, good on the ball, can progress it forward, but also win a tackle in defence. And it's Van de Beek because McTominay's got energy. McTominay's got energy, so's Van de Beek. McTominay's good defensively, so's Van de Beek. Is McTominay as good on the ball going forward as Van de Beek? No, he is not. In them tight areas, I've seen it so many times for him in a United shirt. Van de Beek is unbelievable in them tight areas. And it's what Ajax is all about. You watch some of their drills, it's all about being in tight areas and moving the ball quickly. I don't understand how, as a box-to-box midfielder, McTominay is getting over Van de Beek because one of Van de Beek's main attributes is running into the box late as on the edge of the box and then having a shot. It's almost set up for him to play that role as long as obviously he does the defensive work, which he does. I've seen him put in many a tackle for United. So look, I don't understand why he doesn't play there. That's his position. He's not better than Pogba, especially at the minute, and he's not better than Bruno in them positions. But that's his position. Where McTominay is, that's where he should be playing. And that's what annoys, I think a lot of United fans.
I think as well, there'd be more of a fear factor about Man United for me.
Yeah.
If they played both Cavani and Van der Beek. I think if you look at that midfield and go, Jesus, we're against Fred, Van der Beek, Pogba, and Bruno today. Oh my God, teams would lose before they've even kicked the ball. Like, I think Scott McTominay will be, and you can mark my words on this, he will be a Conor Hourihane at Villa. He will be a player that just gets he just gets subsidised in the transition of the team. Scott McTominay, when Man United were pushing top 4, top 6, brilliant. Great player to have around the place. But he's nowhere near better than Van der Beek. I'm sorry. And Ollie, this is where, like I said before, he has to become a better manager. He's got to become a better manager. You can't have favourites as a manager. You can have players that you can trust, but you can't show the fan base that there's favouritism, because as soon as you do that, you're giving everyone a reason to criticise you. And that's why the criticism is coming his way, because everyone's going, all right, so you didn't sign Jack Grealish, you signed Donny van der Beek, brilliant. You got him for a cheaper price, brilliant. But you've paid 30-odd million for a guy to sit on your bench and warm up your bench. What is the point? What is the point? He was playing regular football at Ajax. And that's why I don't think the real story's been told. I think he went there expecting first-team football week in, week out, if I'm being honest. Because if you look at his face, I think it was... What game was it now? I think it was the Crystal Palace game at home, when that famous photo of him sat on the bench and he looked like he was about to cry. And you could see, even from that point, he was sat there thinking, why am I here? I'm not getting
in that game as well.
I'm not getting game time against Crystal Palace, for God's sake. Like, I know people want to keep this romanticism around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I completely get it, because I'd be the same as if it was Dean Smith, I'd be exactly the same. But that Van der Beek, no one is going to tell me that Van der Beek went there for 30 million, getting told that he wasn't going to play for the first half of the season, and the second half of the season he was going to get more game time. I can't believe that. I really can't. The way how good he is. It can't be right. It really cannot be right. Something's clearly going wrong, and he's clearly doing something wrong, because otherwise you can then argue about the favouritism point, because he comes on and 9 times out of 10 he makes a difference. But I saw a player in that game, and for me it's until rivals fans say something about a player where you think, do you know what? Actually, I think I've been missing that. I just thought he looked so disinterested. I've never seen a player, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer especially, look so disinterested. That's one thing that I'll credit Ole for. Everyone seems to stick together under him. Van der Beek honestly didn't. He looked like in that second half especially that he didn't even want to play. He looked like he wanted to come off.
I think with Van der Beek, like I say, you can say he looked disinterested, this, that, the other, and he did look upset, especially in the Palace game. But I think from what's come out from the club and the way he's been acting, especially on social media, XYZ, is he's there for the club. And I know we'll go a long way back, but that win against Southampton, he was giving it beans and everything. So I think there's a definite fight there from him. But just quickly on, just to end on Van der Beek finally, I remember when he signed in the summer, and obviously, like I said, we had that midfield of Pogba, Bruno, Matic, and then Ollie got asked, do you see Van der Beek in the midfield with Pogba and Bruno? And he said, yeah, I can see, them three as a midfield. I don't think there's been a game this season where all three of them have been really on the same pitch. I know they were against Sheffield United, but we were chasing the game then. I don't think he's played all three of them in the same game, like at all, really. I don't think there's been one point, and you sort of go back to that and think, well, what was the meaning behind this then? Was this just, a confidence booster? And then going to McTominay, we said last season, McTominay was a good player for us last season, and don't get us wrong, he did help us, in different parts of the season and in the Europa League. But for United to progress on, McTominay needs to be the squad player of your squad. He doesn't need to be that starting central midfielder, if you know what I mean. Like, if he can come in, do a job for a game or two, then go back out the team when Van der Beek's had a rest, perfect. But he can't. He's not that player that's going to start every single game, and he'll have good games, and he cares about the club. But when there's better players, you got to pick the better players, haven't you? But look, we'll finish on that for United and Van der Beek, because I'm sure I could go all day about that scenario. We'll just finish up on a few bits of news before we do wrap this stream up. I'm just having a look here of what's going on. This is an interesting one. I spoke about this to my mate yesterday, actually. If anyone didn't watch, Liverpool beat Tottenham 3-1 yesterday. But I suppose the bigger news is that Joel Matip picked up another injury. Klopp has said it looks like something serious with Joel Matip. It's an ankle injury. Liverpool were convinced that they didn't need a centre-back, but now the situation could change. The board will decide in the next few days after updates about Matip. And then Jurgen Klopp come out and said, you can imagine that we think about everything. It's about doing the right thing. We need to find the right player. Work in progress after Matip injury. So the Liverpool centre-half, story is reignited due to this injury again. And look, they've got 2 days really to go and get one, Morgan. They haven't got one in the previous 29. I don't think they're going to get one. If it is, it might be Mustafi.
This for me is the reason why Liverpool will not retain their title. There has been such a naivety and an arrogance of, we're Liverpool, we don't need to bring in a centre half. Are you mad? Like, seriously, are you mad? Matip is made of glass. That proved it last night. He didn't even do anything. Like, bad. He come off at half time, didn't come back out for the second half. Everyone sees Phillips stood on the side. And I was watching the kickoff and Lawrence went, oh no. Because he knew straight away that Matip was going to be out for a few months. He just knew. Like, I cannot believe Liverpool have been the way they are in this transfer window. And it was interesting listening to Lawrence, actually, because I was listening to Lawrence and he seemed to say that Jurgen Klopp keeps alluding to the fact that he wanted a centre-back. He keeps dropping little hints there. And he mentioned that there might actually begin to be a little bit of a disagreement with the Liverpool board and Jurgen Klopp. I cannot see a world where Jurgen Klopp... Go on.
I'm glad you've mentioned that, because I think, speaking to a couple of my Liverpool mates as well, I think Jurgen Klopp wanted a centre-back this January. However, I don't think the board have given him the funds to go out and get one. And if they have it, I guess it would be very minimal funds. So I just can't believe it's not like they've had one centre-back injury. They've had Van Dijk long-term. They've had Gomez. They've had Matip. I think that Phillips has had an injury. So they've only really had Reece Williams, who I don't think has really been injured, but we know what he was like against United. So, I don't understand why they haven't gone in for one, to be honest. It baffles me. But, it's Liverpool at the end of the day. Look, we're pushed for time, so we'll just finish up on a couple of things, Morgan. Renato Sanchez emerged as a surprise option for Liverpool as they search for a replacement for Wijnaldum. Do you think that will go through, or do you think Wolves might buy in for this one because they love a Portuguese player?
If I'm being honest, I don't think anything big like that is going to happen with this window now. I think this window, I hate to say it, I think it's just going to fade now. I really
Yeah.
I think clubs have done their business now. I think if they haven't done, like Liverpool, thing is with Liverpool as well, right? If Liverpool want to sign anyone, not only are they going to have to pay for them, because I don't think they'll get anyone in on loan. I think if they come in for a player, they're going to want money for him there and then. They're going to pay
Yeah.
double. They're going to have to pay
Exactly.
double because people know the crisis they're in. Wijnaldum's running down his contract. They got no centre halves. They got Jordan Henderson playing centre half right now, who's doing well. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a centre half. He needs to be playing in the midfield. Um, so I'd be really worried if I was a Liverpool fan because I feel as though they could have made a real statement of intent in this January and gone,
Yeah.
we've just bought in Upamecano, we've just bought in Renato Sanchez, we bought in two players, two replacements. There you go, let's go and win the league. I feel like they've just handed the league to Man City. I really
Yeah.
do. I think they've
Fair enough.
handed the league to City.
That's a fair point. Look, we're gonna have to cut the stream short a little bit pressed for time. Morgan, appreciate your time as always. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow the Twitter. Big deadline day special coming soon, so make sure you tune into that on deadline day. Me and Morgan will be there along with a load of special guests that we do hope to have on. More news about that will be over on the Twitter, so please go and follow it. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe as always, and we shall see you on deadline day for a big deadline day show. Cheers for watching, guys.